dreams. We all want things, but what you gonna do for it? How you gonna move for it? What you gonna be? And do you believe you can do anything? But what you gonna do for it? How you gonna move for it? What you gonna be?
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm delighted to be here tonight. Working as a funeral arranger has been quite the experience. I've learned that life is short, but my stories are even shorter. So, fasten your seatbelts, because we're about to dive into the world of funerals and faux pas. And remember, my manager once told me, Rusty, even the deceased are rolling in their graves at your arrangements. While working as a funeral arranger, this is what my manager said about my work. Rusty, you make planning funerals feel like a comedy show. Picture this. My executive's comment on my work went something like this. Your idea of a memorial service is so dull, even the ghosts are yawning. One day, this is what my supervisor said about my work. You're like a magician, making all the guests disappear before the funeral starts. Here's a good one. My team's take on my work was, even the coffins are begging for a more exciting arrangement. Just when I thought I'd heard it all, my manager said this about my work. Your funeral arrangements are so uninspiring, we had to start offering refunds for attendance. Let me share what my director said about my work on Tuesday. You're the only funeral arranger whose clients ask, is this the right place for the party? My employer's feedback was quite the surprise when he said, you're like the DJ at a funeral, you only play the funeral dirge on repeat. You won't believe what my team said about my work recently. Your idea of a themed funeral is the bland and boring bash. Just this Wednesday, my colleagues said this about me. Even the cemetery's grass is jealous of how lifeless your arrangements are. You'll get a kick out of what my manager said. You're so bad at this job, even the Hesses are asking for a lift to a more exciting event. One of my colleagues dropped this gem on Monday. Your funerals are so dull, they make a library look like a rave party. Here's a good one. My head of department's take on my work was, you're the reason we had to introduce a nap time corner at the memorial services. My team's feedback on my work was quite the surprise. You make a eulogy sound like a legal disclaimer. Just when I thought I'd heard it all, my team said this about my work. Your funeral arrangements are so unmemorable, we have to check our calendars to remember them. Guess what my manager said during our meeting? You're like a human tranquilizer, putting everyone to sleep at the wake. You won't believe the hilarious thing my manager said. Even the doves you release at funerals are falling asleep mid-flight. The other day, my boss had this to say about my work. Your idea of a lively procession is a parade of sleepwalkers. I had to hold back laughter when my administrator commented like this. You're so bad at this job, even the caskets are requesting a do-over. It's like my superintendent woke up and decided to roast my work with this comment. Your arrangements are so lifeless, the flowers wilt when they enter the room. So, my manager dropped this gem about my work recently. You're like the Grim Reaper of party planners, extinguishing all the fun. Last week, my controller threw this curved ball. Your funeral arrangements are so uninspiring, even the ghosts are checking out early. While working some extra hours, my team said this. You're the only funeral arranger who has to send invitations to the deceased just to show up. Ever had your work summed up by your chief in a single sentence? Mine did. And it was, your funerals are so forgettable that even the obituaries struggle to remember them. So, my team leader came up with the singer about my work. Your arrangements are so lifeless, they make the cemetery look like a disco party. Picture this. My executive's comment on my work went something like this. You're like the magician of disappointment, making all the tears disappear. Just when I thought I'd heard it all, my manager said this about my work. Even the tombstones are asking for a more exciting script. You won't believe the hilarious thing my manager said. Your idea of a themed funeral is the Dullsville Parade of Sorrow. Guess what my manager said during our meeting? You're so bad at this job that even the hearse refuses to pick up your calls. We went for a team building and my team leader dropped this gem. Your funerals are so quiet, even a mime would say, speak up, please. So, my manager dropped this gem about my work recently. You're like the human embodiment of elevator music at a funeral. Here's a good one. My team's take on my work was, you make a funeral march sound like a lullaby. Just this Wednesday, my colleagues said this about me. Your arrangements are so tedious, even the mourners are seeking a second opinion. Picture this. My team's comment on my work went something like this. You're the reason we had to introduce bring your own entertainment to the wakes. I've heard some things in my time, but what my superior said about my work was truly memorable. You're like a slow-motion director for the afterlife, everything is in slow-mo. Guess what my team said about my work during one of our meetings? Your funeral arrangements are so uninspiring, even the eulogies are asking for rewrites. One day this is what my supervisor said about my work. Even the cemetery squirrels have lost their will to live under your watch. Another day I went to work and my manager said, you're the only funeral arranger whose tagline is, rest in. What was it again? My team's feedback on my work was quite the surprise. Your funerals are so mundane that even the priest falls asleep during the service. Here's a good one. My head of department's take on my work was, you're like a walking funeral dirge, bringing gloom wherever you go. Last week, my controller threw this curved ball. Your idea of a heartfelt tribute is the monotone monologue. The other day, my boss had this to say about my work. You're so bad at this job, the coffins want to jump ship before they sink. One of my colleagues dropped this gem on Monday. Even the gravestones are cracking jokes to lighten the mood at your funerals. So, my team leader came up with this singer about my work. Your idea of a touching tribute is the whispered whimper. Just when I thought I'd heard it all, my team said this about my work. You're like the rain cloud that follows a funeral procession, a guaranteed downer. I couldn't believe it when my executive remarked this. Your funerals are so uneventful, even the ghosts are seeking a refund. You won't believe what my team said about my work recently. You make a funeral wake feel more like a coma. While working some extra hours, my team said this. Your arrangements are so dull, even the embalmed are raising their eyebrows. Let me share what my team had to say about my work just yesterday. You're like the funeral director equivalent of a deflated balloon. It's like my superintendent woke up and decided to roast my work with this comment. Your funerals are so lifeless that even the earthworms are boycotting your events. You'll get a kick out of what my manager said. You make a eulogy sound like a legal disclaimer. My employer's feedback was quite the surprise when he said, your idea of a lively procession is a parade of sloths on tranquilizers. So, there I was on a coffee break when one of my colleagues said to me, even the cemetery's grass is sending you letters of complaint. I had to hold back laughter when my administrator commented like this. Your arrangements are so uninspiring, even the caskets are requesting a closed for renovation sign. I had to hold back laughter when my team commented on my work like this. You're like a human sedative, putting everyone to sleep at the wake. So, on a Friday, my team came up with this gem about my work. Even the doves you release at funerals are begging for an escape plan. Let me share what my director said about my work on Tuesday. Your idea of a memorable funeral is the snooze-a-palooza. My boss's perspective on my work took an unexpected turn when he said, you're so bad at this job, even the skeletons have decided to come out of the closet. In the realm of unbelievable feedback, my administrator said this about my work. Your funeral arrangements are so uninspiring, they make the cemetery seem lively. Ever had your work summed up by your chief in a single sentence? Mine did. And it was, you're like the Grim Reaper's stand-in, bringing all the gloom and none of the charm. One of my colleagues dropped this gem on Monday. Even the ghost of Christmas future wants to skip your funerals. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you had a good laugh tonight. Working as a funeral arranger has its unique moments. I've learned that humor can be found even in the darkest of times. So, let's celebrate life and laughter together. And remember, my manager once said, Rusty, your funerals are so dull that even the flowers are considering photosynthesis as a career change. Thank you for being here and have a good day. See you on the next one.
And we all got dreams, we all want things. But what you gonna do for it? How you gonna move for it? What you gonna be? And do you believe you can do anything?
Hey, I may be the worst at my job, but at least I am entertaining. Leave a comment down below and let me know what your manager is saying about your work. And if you didn't enjoy this show, well, I promise I'll try even harder to disappoint you next time. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Until next time, stay employed and keep smiling.